All right, we're getting close to the GameAbove Sports Bowl, Central facing Northwestern at Ford Field, and I'm happy to be joined here by senior defensive end Michael Heldman. Thank you so much for stopping in and talking to me a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
So, first thing I want to ask you is just, you're in your fifth year here. You've seen a lot in your time in college. Just what's been kind of your assessment of your last season here at Central?
Man, it was a great one. Kind of getting in college in 2021 and being able to just see the new level because going from high school to college, obviously, it's a new level, experiencing that and just seeing all the older guys, how they play, seeing how guys roll. It's just kind of taken the first 2 years to observe. And now I'm finally in that position. It's really cool to see how I've grown just as a player, as a man. And it's really cool to see that and how I've been able to maybe use some of the guys that I previously was like, a follower and like a player under as a young guy, to really use that as kind of like a model like of who I am right now. Obviously with my own type of leadership. But yeah, it's just really cool to see how I've grown. I've been putting in a lot of work every single off season, and going from I would say, go from 22 to 23, and then from 23 to 24 took a pretty good step, and then from 24 to now I just really just you know really took a huge step. So it was just like cool to see how I was able to grow as a player every offseason and see how the work has been paying off. So
And that's another thing I was curious about because now, like in this kind of new era of college football, you see a lot of guys transferring, bouncing around schools, year after year after year, and you have stayed loyal to CMU this whole time. I'm wondering, just why? Why CMU? Why is this something that you wanted to stay committed to for your entire college career?
I would say probably the biggest reason was just, I mean, it's hard to leave relationships and like friendships you create at this university, but it's really up to this, like, it was really this coaching staff that we had. With Coach Drinkle coming in and bringing in a bunch of great coordinators and just great coaches, it was just, I knew I just had to stay because if I were to transfer, I would have had to learn a new playbook regardless. And plus, I know where I stand in this team, and I know I can play here. I can play anywhere, but I just didn't want to leave these guys, and I had a lot to leave behind. Like help teach these guys things, mentor them along, and I could do it under Coach Drinkle and his staff, and that's really why I stayed. And I met my wife here, and so it would be hard to leave. Because if I were to transfer, and I'd want to get to know a playbook, and because last year of playing, if I were to transfer, you don't want to transfer after spring ball. You want to transfer before and get to know the playbook and, get the coaches to like you at a different school. And my wife was a gymnast, so she was competing here. So we'd be separate. And, that was a tough decision, but I knew ultimately I wanted to be around her. I wanted to be around my friends. I wanted to be around the young guys. And I wanted to help change the culture and help change this idea that Central Michigan is not bad at football. I mean, mind you, we were the past couple 3 years, and but I want to get back to that, Dan Lefevre era, all the eras we were winning, going to many bowl games, winning MAC championships. I knew that with Coach Drinkle, we were able to set the tone with a new Central Michigan and a Central Michigan that's able to win back-to-back MAC championships, maybe back-to-back, because I know he'll do great with this university. So I want to be able to be a part of that and help lead it in the right way.
Well, yeah, and I mean, with this season is all the evidence you need to see that the culture is shifting.
Yeah.
What are some of the I guess biggest aspects that have stood out to you about the culture shifting, and just also talk about your leadership on the defense. Obviously, you got another big leader in Jordan too working with you. Just talk about kind of all that playing into the success this year.
Yeah, so I would say you kind of look at kind of growing up and like being the young guy in 21 and like seeing all the guys kind of learning under them and kind of growing from like 22, 23, 24 to, now in 25. I've just seen a lot of like guys who really only care about themselves. There was a lot of teams that like we tried to be, there were some teams we try to work as a group, but it still just seems like they really only cared about themselves. The coaches seem like they only cared about themselves. So it seemed like some of them, I'm not saying all of them because there was a couple of coaches that we had before that were just the best we've ever had. And I have contact with them now still. We actually kept them on the team. But there were a couple coaches we had. It was just like sometimes you didn't know, and that's why there was not really much trust with our athletes. My teammates, and like there was just a lot of disconnection, disconnection. There wasn't really like that brotherhood. It seemed like, you know what I'm saying? It just seemed like another university where people just want to do what they need to do so they can transfer out, if that makes sense. And I'm like, we're not a transfer university. We're a good football team, especially if you look at our history. So, just like seeing guys and like I told other guys this, it's like you just see fights happening like in the locker room, the training room, the weight room, the meeting rooms, the field. Like you see fights happening everywhere. And now like all of a sudden like we had maybe one or two little like I wouldn't say fights like they were, but they were just like little like, guys got into it a little bit during practices. Guys are so connected right now, and it's so cool to see how we are just brothers and we play for each other. Like even though we might get mad, like yeah, if you get mad at your brother, yeah, you might push each other and shove each other during practice or like at home. But when like in the end, if someone else is mess with your brother, like what are you gonna do? You're gonna stand up for him, and that like you see that in a game. If guys mess with you, like they'll come and like help you. Like that's how good we are, like as a team, if that makes sense. And that's where I've seen the growth. And it was great to see that and just see how our coaches showed more like care for us, if that makes sense. Um, and just to see just the growth and really most importantly, just to see where how faith has grown in our team. A lot like we really had barely had a chaplain. You try to talk to guys about stuff spiritually and it's just like tough. And now you got a lot of guys we're praying after. We have chaplain, like a 5 minute faith starter in the end zone after every practice. We have chaplains traveling with us so guys can go. Guys are praying for each other. We're all praying with each other like before and after games. Like it's just seeing this like seeing the Holy Spirit move through this program is just such a blessing. And that's also where you get the culture change and like where guys are just playing for each other and playing together. And, it's just all love in the end. It's just great to see how that's changed, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to ask just about seeing, the faith in this team from the fan base too. You guys have gotten, a lot of support this year from the alums, from the Mount Pleasant community. What does it mean just to have that see that sort of support from, the people who love Central Michigan?
It's just great to see that they trust us, and I get it. It's hard to put money into something that like, when you see guys in the NFL, they have that trust to pay, give you money to play on their team and help them win games and win Super Bowls. And then it's just tough to see how guys don't, do what they're being paid for, or maybe they get in trouble. And then, it's just hard, like maybe for certain guys to put trust into others. But it's just good to see how they have trust in this team to go and just use the resources that they give us food, clothing, etc., nice traveling, nice places to stay so we can go and win games and really bring a lot of money into this university to give back and help this university grow, but also help this program grow because, we, like I said, I think there's a lot of alumni who want to see this program be a winning program again. I mean, I'm looking out at my field right here and I see a bunch of bowl games in the years and like I see 2006, 7, 8, 2010, 2012, 2014, 15, 16, like 17, like all like that's a lot of years we're successful. We have winning seasons and within those years too, we had MAC championships. So like it's just they want to see that consistent winning again instead of, some losing going on, if that makes sense. So, I'm excited. Like, it was really nice to see that they supported us and that we were able to give them a winning season after 3 hard seasons, and now starting to get back into the groove of, putting in what's the saying? It's like being able to give them more than what they put into us. You know what I'm saying? So, more MAC championships. Who knows? Put more stands. You know, bigger, make the stadium bigger. I don't know. I'm totally joking about that, but you get what I'm saying. Just like helping the university and the program grow more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does for sure. And and part of that, this year I'm gonna put you on the spot and make you talk about yourself a little bit. But, you've had such a great season so far. You led the team in sacks, and just have been, a matchup problem for other teams across the season. Like you talked about it a little earlier, just with the work and the improvement that you've seen out of yourself each off season, but just I guess what has kind of all come together for you to be able to put on a performance like you have this year?
I think it's just I think a little bit has to do with like this is all or nothing. Um, last season I got to be able to go and just play great, but it really a lot of it has to do with I wanted like every single year I've wanted to win a championship. Last year I did all I could to try to go win a championship. But like I said, with the disconnection with the team, it was hard to play as great as you could. And a lot of times like you tried to like um, play for the coaches and you felt it just like that's where the disconnection was happening because we need to play for each other on the field because coaches only give us plays. They're not on the field with us. And just being out there with the guys and playing for each other and just having that goal in mind that I need to go be great in this game for the next 12 games because if I'm not, I'm hurting the team. Even though I'm just one player, I'm a player that needs to be my best. Even if I was a rookie, even if I am where I am now, the a leader, a vet, I need to do the best I can so we can go win a championship, then maybe go win another one. And now my last year, I definitely need to go win one because we have not won a single one. So it's really just putting that together, but also it's just like, being a little bit more free in my game. I feel like I was kind of held back with how like I can play. But being a little bit more free in my game and just our defensive coordinator having trust that we can go get after the quarterback without having to send blitz after blitz after blitz after blitz after blitz. Like, keep our guys in coverage and so we can go get after him. And, this year we like I kid you not, I think with like pressures, I think, and with sacks alone, just as a D line without any like what is it, pressures or like blitzes, it was a lot more successful. And which caused a lot more interceptions. We literally doubled, maybe, I think, the amount of interceptions we had just alone, and then takeaways too, like phenomenally just increased from last season to this season. Yeah, yeah, like five, yeah, 5 to 20, which is nuts. And so I just love to see how he had that confidence in us, and we were able to go dominate. And especially just me as an edge rusher, and leading the defensive line, I knew I had, it was just great to see that he trusted me to be able to go and talk to our guys and be like, hey, this is not working up front. We got to work on this. We got to do this. Talking and like, what do other guys see? What do the tackles see? What does the other Fox, the end see? Like, kind of talking to them, and that's just what was able to for me to be successful because everyone else we communicated and we talked and we knew how to see things, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, it does for sure. And when you look at, Northwestern now in front of you, they're kind of classic Big Ten football, physical offensive line, run heavy, run heavy. Okay, all right.
No,
But
they are. They are. They are.
run heavy football team. But their quarterback can get out and make plays too. Just what are some of the biggest things that you have to prepare for in order to be your best in that game?
Just prepare like I have been. It's I feel like when guys get caught up into like, I don't know if NFL players do this too, but when it comes to like title games or Super Bowls, bowl games, I just think guys don't need to get caught up in, okay, so important. I gotta like be like I gotta do extra this, extra that. If you've been playing so good where you're at, it doesn't change. It's just another game. Yes, it means a lot with the bowl game, with the Super Bowls, with the championship games. However, it's just another good opponent because you're not going to play a bad opponent in a championship game or a bowl game because they're all like 500 or better. But you're going to be playing a good team regardless. So you just got to prepare. Like my thing is just I'm watching film. I'm seeing like new details every day. I'm working on my craft. I'm staying healthy. I'm doing what I need to do, like I usually do every single week. during the season to just be successful. Yes, it's a Big Ten team. Yes, they have a really good O-line. However, if I were in the NFL, everyone has a good O-line. Everyone's the best at what they do. You know what I'm saying? So why can't I take the same mentality towards college, if that makes sense? So they have a good O-line, a great offensive tackle. I'm going to attack it like I do every week, and I'm going to play my balls off. Excuse my language. I'll play my tail off, sorry, to just go and just help this team win. Um, I think it's going to start up front with us on defense, really, on defensive line, because their best part of their ball is their offensive line. Reason why they can run, pass the ball. So we got to be able to go out there and show them that we can actually play with them and just get good knockback and do our job. That's really all it is. Set edges, make sure our linebackers can fill the hole for us and just, get pressure on the QB and do what we do best. So that's really what it's going to come down to for as a team and just for me personally. It's just the same thing and then just be really good up front.
And I'm wondering about that, that mentality that you talked about, I guess, how much have you tried to instill that into other guys on the defensive line and on the defense, just with the NFL, everyone's good, take that to college, same kind of mindset.
Well, for me personally, it's just more of an underdog mentality. I've always been overlooked. I've always been looked down upon, and I'm content where I'm at. Where I'm at, I'm a child of Christ. I'm content as a person. However, I don't like being looked at as bad or as trash or the competition's not good, so that's why he looks okay. It really, upsets me to see that. And it adds fuel to the fire because I can play with guys that are good. I can dominate guys that are bad. And so that's why every game I play, especially like when we played against, Pitt and against Michigan, I'm not scared of those dudes. I can't be. They're like there's no choice. And so I'm always an underdog and I'm always gonna attack it like I'm playing against freaking I don't know, Trent Williams every play. Like that's just who I gotta attack, how I gotta attack it every play. And I told guys like I think we were like one of the worst defensive lines towards the beginning of the season. It didn't end so well, especially throughout the season. And I've told guys, especially interiors, I'm like, listen, we are trash. There are times when we were at practice, I just said, y'all are garbage. I'm garbage. We're garbage. Trying to get them to understand that people look at us and they don't see a good D line. And sometimes I try to do that to get them to realize, like, shoot, maybe we are. And it's not so like negative. It's more of just a reassure and then keep encouraging them during practice. Like I really like to encourage our guys, like, come on, you can do better, or like, you know, that was good, but this can be make it greater. You know what I'm saying? This can turn it from a 2-yard TFL to a 5-yard TFL. And that's a huge difference between play calls. Is like a 2-yard TFL and a 5-yard TFL that can take you out of field goal range. That can, put you in a third and long instead of a third and medium. Like there's so many factors into it, but that's just kind of really the mentality. Like guys need to have that underdog mentality all the time, but also like you don't have to have fear. Everyone bleeds the same. Everyone plays the same. Yeah, they might be bigger. They might have better food. They might have better training programs. I personally think we have the best weight staff in the country, but they might have all that nicer, newer things. They might be supported more, but it doesn't really change. Football is football. And I told guys, if you want to play at the next level, you got to play every game like, you're playing against the best of the best. Even if they are bad, you got to play the best of the best because that's how you show that you can play and you can dominate. So,
And I'm wondering, with that underdog mentality, how do you still feel that you are being, I guess, overlooked when it comes to the next level? Like where is your kind of headspace with that?
yeah, I mean, you got a lot of these guys at P4 colleges, and it's not a knock on them because they were gifted. They were gifted. They had hard work going to college, and they worked their butts off. But it's just like it sucks as a guy who puts his all into the game, and just head down, don't complain, just go and work. And you see a lot of like these guys getting things, and you know I'm never gonna complain about not getting awards. I think it's super cool, but you feel like you're just getting overlooked. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't really matter to me. What matters is I know that I'm not the best, and so I know I gotta goal to go, a goal to reach. I want to be the best. And, even if I am the best, I want to be even better than myself. So, just seeing that, it just kind of, like I said, it adds fuel to the fire. But, they'll see soon who I am. So it's just like, it's just trusting in God's timing, and not worrying about the future. All I can worry about is today, and watching my film and not trying to overwatch film, but just watch my film, understand, let the game slow down, and then just go and play my game like I do every day or every game I play. When it comes to the day after Christmas, I'm just going to go and dominate the game I play. And I've told people this many times, whether that's one tackle and 20 pressures or 20 sacks and, one pressure, like no matter what it is, as long as I put my all out on that field and I did what I needed to do to help this team win, I'm going to be content with that. And then I'm going to move on and focus on the next game, you know? And that doesn't mean I'm going to be happy if I did bad. I'm always going to want to be better. But it's just like, as long as I put my all out to help the team, that's all I can focus on. So,
And how do you feel just about the team's kind of intensity and prep towards this game throughout the last couple weeks and leading? Like, where do you feel like these guys are at in terms of just their preparation and fire being fired up to play in this game? No pun
yeah,
intended. I know
no, you're
pun
good. You're
intended.
good. I love it. I love it. I think the guys are. I low key practices seem a little bit more physical this week. Probably because we were also a week off, so guys wanted to hit people. But it's just I think these guys are ready to go, just prove themselves again. We had two opportunities against Pitt and Michigan. We fell way short against Michigan, and I think we also kind of sold ourselves against Pitt because we knew we could have played a better game, probably could have won that game. So I think this just gives another opportunity for us to play a big school and just really go show who we are going into the next season. And hopefully, those young guys understand that this is the tone to set for the next season and for them. And, I think Central's going to win a MAC championship. I'm calling it 2026 MAC champions. Like that's just what's going to happen because they're going to set a great tone, and I'm going to like can't wait to watch those guys dominate next season. And it's exciting to see. But I think guys are ready to play this game, but also excited to just be with each other and enjoy the bowl game atmosphere, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, now we got on record 2026 Central MAC championship. The last thing I got for you before I let you go is, you're a Michigan kid. You grew up here. So I am too. So I like be the Lions, Ford Field, all that obviously means
Uh,
a little bit more to guys who grow up here. But just being able to play in Detroit, play at Ford Field, and have that opportunity, how special is that for you?
it's really awesome. Especially since I'm not a Lions fan, but it's so cool to know that like I had so many opportunities we could have played at Ford Field before, like the MAC championship, or in high school we tried to go to state championship, never was able to go. So it's just really cool to actually be here and just go and play there for the first time. Even if it's for a bowl game, it's still so sweet to play on a pro stadium. It's gonna probably be my second pro stadium just because we played at Pittsburgh first. But it's just so cool to go in there and like I've been to a couple games there. Um, I've never actually been on that field, so it's just going to be cool to go onto that field, play, be in those locker rooms, just be in that atmosphere. I'm excited to see how it goes. I know everyone else is, so we're just excited. Day after Christmas, instead of lounging around, returning gifts, and getting fat, it's just going and actually playing a football game. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see how we all play against a good opponent. So yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome, man. Well, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much again for it, taking a couple minutes talking with me, and wishing you best of luck in the bowl game and after the bowl game too, man.
All right, yeah, thank you very much.